what is up, y'all? Welcome back to episode 75 of From Bedrock to Java. Haha! Today is a very special episode because I've been waiting to do this for, I don't know how long at this point, but I've been waiting to do it for a while because I want to actually show off the work I've done, because today we're doing a world tour. The last world tour we did was about 40 episodes ago and a lot has changed. The last world tour was episode 35 of this series, and now we're on episode 75. We're 40 episodes since. So we have 40 projects worth of stuff that has changed. So today is a perfect day to go ahead and do a quick little recap of everything we've ever done in this world. So follow along to go about this journey. Let's go ahead and go back to the very beginning. So if you've been watching the series for a long time, or since the beginning, or maybe if you've seen the first episode of this world, you would know this area right here as spawn. I haven't been here, well, I've been here relatively recently, at least within the past couple months. However, I don't come here very often, as you can tell by how ugly it is with all of these rails and such because of a shulker. Trying to move shulkers, I fell into a hole. Trying to move shulkers is an absolute pain because every time you put a shulker through the end portal, they end up back at spawn. So we had to take these little rails here to bring the shulker all the way back up to our portal and bring it back to our main base. This area here does need a little bit of work though, because it is very ugly, and I do want to say I want to conserve this area sort of for at least some of the stuff I placed originally, like this crafting table here and this little mining tunnel right over here, which was the first tunnel that I used to dig for coal, and that's where I found the coal. Yeah, I just like to keep some of these little memories intact. But anyways, that's enough for spawn. Let's go ahead and get to some real stuff. Okay, so quick little journey into the nether, because there are a couple projects we ended up working on in here. This one right here is the gold farm, as well as a piglin bartering station thingy. I don't know, I spent a long time working on this thing, and I use it relatively frequently. It's my main source of XP. However, villagers have mostly taken that over at this point because it's a lot easier to go to villagers than go to the nether. This is our little piglin farm thing. I don't remember who designed it, but it's not my design, nor is this thing down here. I did take someone else's design and then modulate it into 4. This system right here is mine though. You can tell because it doesn't look as good. The only other project that we have going on over here is this little farm right in the distance. This right here is our frog life farm. Our frog life farm is it's my own design. I kind of made it based off of some other farms I've seen. I didn't actually watch a tutorial for it, but I kind of understood how it works. We have more frog lights than we're probably ever going to use. However, several episodes ago, we did have a little project that was going on directly underneath our piglin farm right over here. So down here, we actually have our nether fortress. We had a nether fortress right here that was completely covered up by a bunch of land. So I decided that I wanted to dig this area out. So I had Tommy help me with blowing up a good chunk of this. We're still not finished with this project because there's just lots of lava, lots of death, and there's just a lot of blocks to actually clear here. However, this was originally going to be our wither skeleton farm. However, I changed my mind about this area because it's just too close to like my main nether portals, so I kind of want to find a new place for a wither skeleton farm. That being said, we did dig out this huge area. It'd be a waste to not use it. So instead of putting a farm down here, I'm thinking that we could actually put our new nether hub thingy somewhere here because it just kind of fits. It makes sense. It's kind of central, and I feel like it looked pretty good. But that's pretty much it for the nether. Let's go ahead and head back to the overworld. This is a nice bed. It's morning. We're back in one of our first houses that we ever built. Actually, it is the first house we ever built. This is our starter house. We built this on episode, what, like 3 or 4, I think? I don't know. Back when we had no tools and I was still getting used to the whole YouTube survival let's play series thingy. I didn't really know what I was doing, but we ended up building this thing over the course of like 2 or 3 episodes. And I absolutely adore this place. It's one of my favorite starter bases I've ever made because of just how complex everything is. And apparently I'm missing some glass because it got destroyed during a update. It's fine. I don't know. Something about this build is just really nostalgic and I love it. And this is one of the only builds that I have that actually has an interior, mainly because I lived in it and I didn't want to live in something that was ugly. So we have ourselves like this little library sitting area. Over here we have a dining room, a kitchen, and we even have a bathroom, something I don't have in any other build. This is the only bathroom that exists in my world. I am missing a door. I guess it got broken down by a zombie or something. Up here we have like my favorite bed in this entire house. This was the bed I always used. And over here we had my original chest room, which was 25 chests. Not enough. And we have of course had like a little enchantment setup, which I kept here because I don't want to like get rid of this. Oh my god. Over here in this little hidden area we have our like brewing station with some nether warts, some brewing stands. But anyways, that is our starter base. Now we can move on to bigger and better projects because that was a long time ago. Now we can go ahead and move away from our starter base. However, I don't really want to move on to the mega base just yet, which is looming over in the background. So instead, I kind of want to look around the area that I've been working on in the last couple episodes, or well, last episode, because it only took one episode, surprisingly. And this is like the city right here. And this one right here took like 2 episodes, and this one took an episode or 2 on its own. There's a lot of little projects around here that took a couple episodes. So let's go ahead and go over this area real quick. So this right here is our little cityscape. So we have ourselves a couple of these little buildings around here, which is meant to be some kind of city. It used to just be this little area right here and this building right here, as well as that building right over there. So it wasn't really much of a city, and it was more of like a little town with a bunch of buildings surrounding it. However, with the addition of last episode stuff, this city right here really feels like a city. There's a lot of areas that people could live, and I think this is amazing. So I guess let's go ahead and go chronologically in terms of what was built around this area. So this area right here, which was meant to be my original blacksmith, was the first building here. This part right here with the bridge, this was already here. Everything that was like right about here was here. It's just that these buildings weren't. They were just a bunch of outlines. So it was really ugly, and it made no sense with the fact that there's a bridge leading to literally nowhere. This right here was meant to cover up my moss farm. This was a moss farm that I don't remember who designed it, but it was something I used. And it just kind of broke one day and I stopped using it, but it exists. I AFK'd many times here because yeah, there's just still a ton, an absolute ton of stuff here. Yeah, we never even did an interior. That's how lazy I got with this thing. So let's go ahead and head down to the basement where we actually originally had ourselves a bar, which I never did either because I got too lazy to build it. This was meant to be some kind of like bar type thing, kind of like a speakeasy, and I just never built it because I got lazy, so that never happened. This right over here though, I do still come back to. This is a glowberry farm, which was designed by Attributions. I still use this thing sometimes. I don't really need glowberries that often, but if I do need them, this thing is very useful. Now this thing right here, designed by Il Mango, I use quite frequently. This is a glow lichen farm, and I use glow lichen a lot, so we use this thing quite frequently, even if I don't have any bone meal in some of these chests. But let's go ahead and take a quick little wrap around this entire place here. This is one of my favorite builds because it was one of my first little attempts at trying to bring in organics into my buildings, and I absolutely adore it. I think the tree on top looks amazing. It's a really nice feature, and there's a lot going on with it. The windmill, the chimneys, the brick combo with like the greenhouse and the diorite stone, all that kind of stuff. Oh, I love it. Let's go ahead and move on to the next build that we ended up working on here. Oh, by the way, just so you know, I did not put any interior in here at all. Not even the greenhouse. I really need to build something in this build. Anyways, moving on, this is our next build that we ended up working on. I was watching a B-Dubs episode when he built himself an automatic smelter on his own with his own like redstone stuff, and I was pretty darn inspired by that because I usually watched a lot of tutorials because I'm not smart enough to be able to come up with like designs like these on my own. So I decided to take a little stab at it myself, and we built this thing right here, which was heavily inspired by B-Dubs because I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that I love B-Dubs. Yep, he's the best. This is our first stab at our little mixture of Italian with our medieval industrial steampunk type base that we have set up for ourselves here. It's a mouthful, but that's kind of what I was aiming for. I don't really want something that's very cohesive. I want something that kind of like breaks the mold of what it's usually done. However, once again, as per usual, I have not done an interior in the slightest. However, this build had a lot of fun play with like windows here. I love these windows. I want to do more of them. However, they take a little bit to try to figure out, even if it's just a couple of little trap doors with some fences. It's not much. However, figuring that out took forever. They also just take up a huge amount of space. Again, there's just no interior in here in the slightest. There's not even a back. This thing's not finished at all. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next area because there's not much else to show. The next thing I built, I'm pretty sure the episode right after, is this little custom beach right here. I built a palm tree, put in some like little areas that you could lay down on. I just realized I need to go to sleep. This is the bed that I actually slept in while building that beach. I have not moved it ever since. And just so y'all know, I built this house specifically for that bed. This is the beach, and I have to say, I think it looks amazing. We extended it all the way over here. It was our little custom beach. I only built one palm tree because I got too lazy and I ran out of resources. I'm pretty sure the next project after the beach was this one right here. This little town, which I love. This is one of the only areas that has full interiors with like people inside and all that kind of stuff. And this one right here is just like a little restaurant with like a little overhang to look into the bakery, which we'll walk into next. This entire side is meant to be like a shopping district type thing. So there's like the restaurant. We got like a little bakery right here. Hey, it's me. Actually, what's in the back? I don't remember. Right next to it, there's like a little candy shop where we have Jazz giving out candy to these kids. This one was designed by Tommy. I just threw the little stands in there though. And of course we have a little bar right over here at the end where I'm just sitting down. Matt's serving us some drinks. Got the Golem twins right there. Ow. I kind of forgot he was there. I'm not gonna lie to you. We got some houses that are like, there's like no interior thought to it. It's just kind of basic. I didn't really care too much about this interior, but we did have like little cool things like this, which led up to this area, which allows us to get into this house, which is one of my favorite houses in this entire area. But yeah, here we are. This is our little town. We even have ourselves a little farmer hut right here, just where we had a little intro at some point. I don't remember when, but we did have an intro here. It oversees this entire wheat field right here, where they have to cross that bridge just to get to the other side. I don't remember when it got put in, but it's been here for a long time. So I have those animals. This entire animal pen has been here since like episode 2 or so. But yeah, there's like a bunch of little fun things around here that I love. And yeah, that's this area. Let's go ahead and move on to what we did in the last episode. Well, actually, we also have these stables, which we did during the exact same episode as that one right there. There's not much to go show about it. But yeah, that's the stables. Okay, on to the last area over here. This is the Italian town that we worked on in the last episode, and I think this is one of my favorite places completely. It's the most detailed, and it has the best vibe to it. There are also no interior. However, I'm gonna give myself a little bit of grace because I managed to actually finish this entire town in 3 days. Surprisingly, I did this build in like 2 hours. I did this build right here, this build right here, most of this build, a lot of this build in like 2 hours. I managed to finish this build right here in about half an hour to an hour, and this build right here I managed to finish in about half an hour. Like it's not even close to 3 days in terms of time, but it happened over the course of 3 days, which is pretty awesome. So let's just go ahead and look at this thing from a distance. I love this place. I think it looks awesome. It has that kind of vibe to it. This was my mob farm right here inside of this building right about here. This mob farm has been here for a really long time as well, and these are the actual chests that sorts all of these drops. Underneath it, however, is the mob farm, which took a really long time to dig. Thank you, Tommy, once again for digging it out for me, because I would not have been able to do it myself. That's a lot of digging, and yeah, I could not bring myself to do it. Above the city, we actually have ourselves 2 ships. This one right here is the Grand Ship, which we actually placed our little area that we AFK for our mob farm right about here, as well as our little nether portal ship right there. These ships are actually meant to be a part of this world's lore. So in this world, we actually have ourselves a crane, which we built several episodes ago. And this crane right here, there's going to be eventually 2 of them, one over here, which is flying, and one that sits right over here. These 2 cranes, they actually watch the ships that come out of like a shipyard right over here, and they determine whether they're going to fly or they're going to swim. The ones that swim, we're eventually going to have boats that are out in the water, and the ones that fly are blessed by another one right over here, which is going to be flying. So this guy tells boats, yeah, you know what, you're gonna swim, and he grants them that ability. The one over here will eventually tell other ships, yeah, you can fly, which leads to things like Santa's sleigh right over there, this ship right over here, and that ship right over there to be able to float. I just need to actually build more ships because these guys are meant to go with that sky dock right over there, which we're going to talk about later. I'm pretty sure the next build that we ended up doing right over here was Tommy's house. This is the same build that I built while Tommy was digging out my mob farm, just because I didn't want to dig it and I wanted to build something instead. So we built Tommy a house. This right here is absolutely amazing. I love this build. It has so much character to it. I love the massive chimney. The block palette is awesome. I love like everything about it just looks so cool. I don't remember who I took inspiration from. However, I did see a build and I was like, I kind of want to follow that block palette, and I absolutely adore it. It looks so cool. And this build even has an interior. And that right there is Tommy's house. I love it. It looks cool. This is the final house that we built. This is the craft house. This is where we have a couple carpenters and all that kind of stuff. And this was actually based off of one of my original starter bases in another world several years ago at this point. This was during a world that I didn't record. I did some little like world tours on it. However, I never actually recorded it. But this is from, I'm pretty sure I called it the Realm of Fortune. And this is while I was still on Bedrock. So I brought this build over into this world to see how much better of a builder I've gotten to be since then. So I took the exact same concept and I tried to build it again right here. But most of this was built just to house a little bee farm right here. Just because I used to have a bee farm which is settled right about here-ish on top of this water. However, I needed to put that water there because of the ship. So I got rid of the bee farm, and I didn't have a bee farm for the longest time. So I just moved it like 10 blocks. Moved it from there, and I moved it over into here. And there's like a little house right over here, which keeps the other workers for the craftsman. This is actually where all of like the honey stuff is collected, just because I need that stuff somewhere. So it's collected in this chest system right here, and I'll eventually put them into like more compact stuff here. But that's the last area for the city section of our world. So let's go ahead and move on to the next area. And of course, as the year progresses, we of course have to come into the fact that, well, this right here is the Christmas island. Christmas came around and I wanted to do something special for it. So we went ahead and built up a Christmas island. This was Tommy's build right here. And this is where we kept all the reindeer, otherwise known as camels. Here we have ourselves a little board of things we got to do, and we didn't get to most of it. However, we got to what we could, and I'm happy with it. This was what Tommy built 2 years ago at this point. I built this thing 2 years ago as well. This is supposed to be Santa's house. It was based off of another reference I found. I don't remember who made it yet again. However, it looked awesome, so I wanted to build it. The picture looks something like this. So I built it, and now it's 3D. I think it looks cool, but yeah, some areas just don't have interiors like this. And of course, we went ahead and built ourselves like a little ice race right here. This entire ice race is massive. It goes all the way around the island and goes all the way off into the distance right through there. It's a huge little ice race that took a really long time to build. I think it was grand total of like 20 something hours worth of work. It took forever to get all the ice, but I'm not going to go through that because there's a lot of work we need to do. I just wanted to also point out the fact that in the middle of this area is eventually going to be some kind of mountain. I started building up something, and this is eventually going to go up into the sky and become like a huge mountain that I'm going to build. However, after one of the previous projects we built for the lighthouse, I'm going to put that off for a little while because I satiated my own terraforming needs. But anyway, let's go ahead and head into Santa's house because there's something special down here that we built specifically for Christmas last year. And we ended up building ourselves a little mini game right here. This is like a little drip leaf dropper type game where you like run across with your friends and try to be the last one standing. Throughout the entire game, there's going to be snowballs that fall down from the ceiling, as you can see from like these little snow blocks here. There's like droppers that drop snowballs down into the area. And if you grab the snowballs, you can like throw them at the drip leaf and make them fall. The challenge was to like knock your friends down and be the last one standing. And yeah, I had a lot of fun building it. It was like one of the first redstone mini games I ever built, so I enjoyed it quite a lot. Right over there, above the Christmas island, is Santa's sleigh. This is something we actually built over a singular episode. This thing is one of my favorite vehicles I've ever built, just because it feels like a Santa sleigh. It has a really cool little block palette. It's very ugly up close. Look at that. The block palette, it's like very basic. However, from a distance, when you look at it, it kind of blends together and it looks really cool. And I also love this one for the fact that it has a really cool story with like our little reindeer up here. We got Pringle, Lay's, Dorito, and Frito. And myself right over there just riding along the reins as well. We got Tommy over here driving the sleigh. And back here we got my friends. We got Matt, Chris, Jazz, Ethan. They're all falling off the edge trying to save the presents. He's trying to save them. And Chris is holding on. Ethan's falling all the way off. Jazz is about to fall off. The presents are gone. I love this thing for its story. It looks really fun. And I really love the fact that we managed to get reindeer up here. Even though it's only 4 instead of, what is it? Santa has like 6 or 8. I don't remember. But he has a lot of them. No, he has 9? Gotta include Rudolph, I think. Right? After Christmas comes New Year's, and after New Year's comes Chinese New Year, and this right here is the Lunar City. I love this place. We built this, I want to say 6 to 8 episodes ago, and I love this place. This one is also one of my favorite places. This is the first city that I truly built, kind of, with pathways and all that kind of stuff, with like this thing right here just being like a little place to store stuff, with like little copper golems sorting stuff into these chests, and we got like a little pagoda right there which looks amazing. It's really small, but it looks awesome. I love it. We're gonna build a massive scaled one like somewhere around there, just to make that the 3rd tower of this world. However, this area right here was mainly just a singular building at some point. This was the original building in this area, and Tommy built this little building right there. This entire building was built during 2024, 2025, I don't remember exactly when, but we built this, and then this year, we actually built this thing right here. We built all of these buildings all the way around here. These 2 took 1 episode, and these 4 took another episode. I am really happy with the way it turned out. I just have to point out the fact that, again, no interiors. Don't expect much from me. I don't do interiors very often, but when I do, I love to do them. There's nothing really to show except like some of the details around these houses, so let's go ahead and take a look. This one's very basic. I don't really like this one as much. This one is a step up from that. I like this one quite a lot, mainly for the shape and the fact that the colors work pretty darn well. There's also a cool little tunnel underneath it. I love that. This one right here is a big upgrade. I like how decorated this one is. It's very busy. It looks awesome. And apparently the copper is still not all the way oxidized. Finally, this building right here, it's like an upgrade from this building with the same block palette. However, it has some more like little details, kinda, because there's like no windows on all the sides. Yeah, let's go take a look at the original building right here. This one's interior is worse because there's like a whole landslide inside of it. But yeah, we're eventually gonna build a whole city around this area, and I'm looking forward to it because I like building it in this Asian style. Okay, before we move on to any other big projects, I just kind of want to point out this little area right over here. This is my original iron golem farm, which I never really use anymore. It's just kind of there, and I just have yet to tear it down. Right over here, we have some like mini games we ended up playing with some of my friends. We had like a little guess the block type thing going on right here. We got the Crither. Look at that. That's terrifying. I don't know what that's gonna do. I also just realized I kind of want to show off the fact that over here, so we have our like little farm section right here that I didn't really show off. We got some pillagers, which are down in the area. Why are you holding that banner? That's scarier than those guys. But I just want to point out the fact that this entire river right here is something that I built myself. There used to be solid land here. This all used to be connected into one big area right here. However, I decided that I kind of wanted to tear it up and build things in it. Like we built Excalibur. We built a little sewer tunnel. We have all this area here, which is awesome. But yeah, we can also talk about these trees. These trees are inspired by B-Dubs yet again, because, you know, B-Dubs is awesome. He built a whole forest in Hermitcraft Season 10, and I loved it. So I wanted to try building the same kind of trees in my world, in this little biome that I made myself. Some kind of like spruce forest type thing with like these things. I think these trees are some of the best ones I've ever built. I think they look awesome. And of course they have to populate the rest of the world, so we built several trees around here that look amazing. I love them. I'm gonna have to build more of them around here because these things feel awesome. Right over here we have some lily pads, which we also built in the same episode that we built the heron. I'm happy with this little custom training that we did right here with like the little bamboo stuff. I've never used bamboo before in terraining until this point. This is the first thing that like made me realize that bamboo is actually pretty darn good for terraining. So we brought that into other projects and I'm happy with it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut that right where it was because I did not like how long our world tour was gonna end up, because our world tour ended up being about an hour and a half, and I don't think y'all want to watch an hour and a half long video from me, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to redo that entire part of the world tour after what we've seen already and make it so much better and easier to understand. So let's go ahead and get back into the tour. Okay, so first off, I'm gonna go ahead and show off this Roman tower right here. I'm not gonna actually show too much of it because I currently have a project to my right that I don't really want to spoil. So instead of doing that, we're gonna go ahead and just show it off from this specific angle and show off that this is the Roman tower, which is completely unfinished, which also houses ourselves a drowned farm. This drowned farm is really good for copper, tridents, and nautilus shells and all that kind of stuff. So I really love this thing. Anyways, next thing, just so y'all know, that entire section right there would have taken like 5 minutes if I didn't like shorten it. So that's why we're shortening these kind of things. In the distance over here, we actually have ourselves something we worked on not that long ago, which is our little lighthouse. Well, I say little, but it's kind of huge because this thing took 3 episodes to build both the terrain and the actual temple itself. This thing has a raid farm inside of it, which I no longer use because raid farms were broken back in one of the previous updates. And because of that, I never actually got to use this thing for that long. It also kept on breaking, so we just have a little raid farm in here that is currently useless, but it's going to be kept here as like a historical thing just to keep, you know, Bob and Frank alive in here. Moving on yet again, we actually have ourselves our mega base. The mega base is the final section that we're going to be showing off in today's episode, and this is the original section right here. This thing took several episodes to actually complete, and it was never actually finished in any of the episodes because this thing is still being worked on today. I haven't worked on it in a while because, you know, it takes a while, but this is where a lot of what happened. I got a lot of stuff in here that I really enjoyed, and it was probably one of the most impactful bases I've ever built because this thing kind of taught me how to properly put everything into a base while making it feel like a base. It was probably one of my all-time favorite bases I've ever had, and I'm definitely going to come back to something like this in the future if I ever have to build another base because I think it looks awesome. Underneath the section of the base, we actually have ourselves our villager trading hall. This villager trading hall actually is an entrance down to another section which I've been planning for over a year, and we only got to not that long ago. This right here is the Undercity. The Undercity is basically a section of the sewer system. This area is where a lot of the people underneath the city are kept who actually work on a lot of the ships that I mentioned earlier. Down this tunnel right over here, we actually have ourselves our first build that we still have yet to finish, which is the last drop, which is based off of something from Arcane. Well, I say based off of, but it's entirely from Arcane. I took a design that I saw in Arcane and I was like, you know what? Let's build it here in Minecraft because I always have loved that building. So I built it here, and I have to say, building the thing at a diagonal was very difficult, but I think it was very well worth doing. Back at the entrance, let's go ahead and take a look real quick at this little set of structures that I have right here, which is kind of what I'm aiming the rest of the Undercity to kind of look like, at least in terms of how densely populated it is. Not necessarily the designs are going to stick all the way through. However, I do really enjoy the way that like it feels in terms of density. From here, we can actually fly on up and head over to the sewers. This is not the right sewers. Right over here, we have ourselves a slime ball farm right here. And past that, right over here, is our sewer system. This is the sewer system where we actually breed up all of our frogs, and it's still unfinished. I want this thing to actually span across the entirety of our base right over here and have another little civilization somewhere in here because I think it's awesome. Wow, there's even more frogs in here. And I even found a bunch of my materials. Cool. And as we head out this way, we can actually find ourselves back at our river right here. So let's go ahead and finally go take a look at our mega base. So the most recent aspect of our mega base is this right here. I'm going to go ahead and take us into free cam just because I think it'll be easier and faster to go ahead and take us through this. So this is the mega base. This is something that we've been working on and off over the past 75 episodes. And I have to say it is really cool. I love all the different aspects, not necessarily how well they go together because some aspects very much so clash. Like our little Italian section with, I don't know, our little attempts at bringing in some steampunk. It's not all very well explained. However, I'm really glad that we built this thing because from the outside, there's a lot of really cool little details, different sections that look insanely cool. And if I were to build upon them even more, this thing could look more uniform. There's like things like this section right here that I want to bring in for most of this entire base. However, I just need to recolor a bunch of this stuff because a lot of it is very much so gray and boring. So like this tower right here, I'm going to recolor it again at some point and retexture it because I hate the way this texturing looks. It can definitely be better. So at some point we're going to retexture it and it'll look so much better. Let's go ahead and break this thing up. So right here we have our office. There's my actual bedroom, the actual office, the waiting room where I'm actually waiting in. We have like the little path to get over to the office from the actual castle. We have a sniffer farm right here. This massive section right here houses a ballroom, a dining area, an even bigger ballroom, and a bunch of farms like this wheat and our bamboo farm. There's also a bar and a pretty big staircase. We have cool areas like the staircase right here, lots of unfinished areas like this, lots of really big hallways, the inside of the sniffer farm, our massive storage room from this point right here, this point right here, and this point right here. This storage room is probably one of my favorites. I love this storage room because this thing right here actually is fully automatic, which is the first fully automatic storage system I've ever built because it uses copper golems, as you can see inside of here. And it's probably one of my biggest storage rooms I've built in a really long time. The only one I've ever built that was larger had like 200 to 250 chests, and you know, I don't really use that as much, so it's fine. For right now, this fits what we need. But inside of this storage room, we even have like little setups like this with my friends. I love it. It's really nice. There's also a ton of really cool pathways like this one right here, just to get down to different areas around the base. We have a giant moss farm, and as we fly on up, right over here, we actually have something that I'm going to show in a second. First things first, we actually have ourselves a bit of Italian right over here. We have an aquarium right up here, which actually houses our kelp farm. And above that, we have our iron farm, which funnels down to another area right over here. Now, this right here is probably one of the biggest rooms in this entire base, and this is the throne room. I love this thing. We built this thing in an entire episode, and it's probably got one of my favorite roofs, one of my favorite color palettes, and a skull-shaped, well, it's kind of like a little dude holding his arms out in a big tongue. And it's like a little throne right here. I think it looks pretty cool. I love it. And even further above it, we have ourselves a meeting room, where we also have our giant ball of energy right up here, which is like supposed to power the city, but I haven't really done any lore with it yet, so I don't really know. But inside of here, we have our giant meeting area with a big table, some areas that people can gather, and areas that the king himself can actually study. Like right over here, even though I have an office already, it's fine. Right here is one of the bigger buildings that I have not finished at all yet. Inside of here actually houses another minigame. This is the battle arena. Inside of here, we have an arena itself that we're actually probably going to change at some point in the future. It's not done yet. It's still under construction. We've used it a couple times, but it's been broken. And underneath it, we even have areas that are completely undone with like this western town right here, which will be really cool once it's finished. However, it's like completely bland and boring. But that about does it for this world tour. I am really happy y'all stuck through to the end, and I'm really glad that I actually managed to get that thing down to something that's a little bit more manageable for most people. I know a lot of people don't really want to watch hour-long movies, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it down for y'all so you can enjoy it as a shorter little piece. So thank you all for watching. And last but not least, I have to say thank you all for 1,000 subscribers. 2 weeks ago, we hit 1,000 subscribers, and I really never posted anything about it. And I just want to announce it here. We've officially hit 1,000 subscribers, and it's all thanks to y'all. Without y'all, it would not be possible because, you know, subscribers can't exist without y'all. Y'all are awesome. And thank you all for watching my videos. It really means the world to me because I've wanted to make videos for other people for the longest time. And it's something that I've been dreaming of doing, and I never thought I could make it far. However, y'all have proved me wrong in many ways. I've never thought I would be able to get more than 100 views on anything. I never thought I'd make it past 100 subscribers. But here we are, 10 times that. We're over 1,000 subscribers, and honestly, I'm really grateful. I'm grateful for everything. So once again, thank you all for watching. As a 1,000 subscribers special, I'm of course gonna do something pretty darn special. I'm gonna go ahead and download this world for y'all to be able to play on anytime you want, up to episode 76. That's right. This may be episode 75, but I've already finished episode 76, at least the build for it. I haven't made an episode just yet, but I have all the builds up to episode 76 in this world download that I'm gonna hand off to y'all to be able to enjoy at your own pace. So if y'all wanna do your own little world tour, feel free to join this world once I make a mod pack, because I have to figure that out first, because hopefully I can figure it out, because I'm not that smart with mods. So again, in the future, if I actually do manage to release this mod pack, I'll of course link it down in the description, and hopefully y'all will enjoy it. Let me know what y'all think, and hopefully you have some fun with it. So, thank you all for watching, and of course, have a good one, y'all. Goodbye! Haha! On to the next episode, because I have a lot of projects I need to build. I'm really excited. I have a lot of projects to do, but I really need to sit down and do some work. So let's go ahead and do this.